children. There's a form for transportation, and there's a form for general issues. We also have the forms in Spanish. Anybody requiring it, we do have an interpreter here this evening. And just so you know, if there's anything that happens this evening that you want to go back and look at, John St. Amand, our vice chair, has been recording all of the meetings, and they're now available on the web. So we have a website, we're on Facebook, we have our own email list. I ask that everybody sign in. It's really important that we get your email address because we send a lot of information out by email. We don't have people's direct connections because that's information that the district holds. So we try to collect as many emails as we can and send out helpful information throughout the month. We also have been, once we get these forms completed, we forward them to jVerre's office, and he assigns them to the appropriate personnel for follow-up. This is a way of sort of keeping the meeting on track and allowing people to have an opportunity to have their individual issues raised and addressed directly with jVerre's office. So these forms are available. We'll pass them out in a couple of minutes. We also have information with regard to sort of updates with the Office of Special Education and Student Services. There's been a lot of changes in administration since jVerre took over. He's been hiring a new team, and there's also been a change with regard to the structure. We used to have ETFs. That position's been changed, and those people are in similar roles, but not exactly, and those are special education coordinators. So hopefully everybody knows who their special ed coordinator is. And then there's also assistant directors. So we have the new contact list. It's also posted on our website, and we do have copies of it up here. But those are the people you want to contact if you have a specific issue with your child throughout the year having to do with special education. They're basically set up into 4 sections: elementary schools A, elementary schools B, middle schools, and K to 8s. So if your child's in an elementary school but it goes to 8th grade, you want to be under the K to 8 schools, and then high schools. So with regard to elementary A, you need to know, depending on which school your child goes to, which one it is. I'm just going to read the list in case people want to know specifically right now. Elementary A is the Adams, the Bradley, the Channing, the Chittick, the Clapp, the Condon, the Everett, Gardner Pilot, Guild, Harvard Kent, P. Kennedy, Horace Mann School for the Deaf, the Marshall, the Mason, the Mather, the O'Donnell, Otis, Perkins, Quincy, Russell, Taylor, Tynan, Winship, and Winthrop. So if your child goes to any of those schools, the person that you want to go to is the assistant director for elementary schools A, and that person is Seth Bartholomew. Again, all this information is available now on the website. If you don't have access, to the internet, just see us and we'll give you hard copies of this information. Elementary schools B. So if your child goes to the Baldwin Early Learning Center, the Bates, the Conley, East Boston Early Ed, Ellis Elementary, Ellison, Grew Elementary, Hale, Haley Elementary, Haynes Early Education, the Henderson, the Hennigan, the Holmes, the Kenny, the Lee, Lee Elementary, Manning, Mattahunt, Mendel, Mozart, Philbrick, Sumner, or the West Zone Early Learning Center, you're in elementary B. And the assistant director for that is Cindy Nielsen. She was just recently hired. All of these people are fairly new to their positions, so they may be people that you haven't heard of before, but they're currently in those positions and available to you to follow up on any issues having to do with your children. The middle schools in K to 8, the assistant director is Nadia Cyprian, and for high schools, the assistant director is Paula Donnelly. All of those people can be reached through contacting the Campbell Resource Center, which is OSESS headquarters out of Fort Street, and that number is 617-635-8599. So we have the specific emails for each one of those individuals as well, but usually we talk about it every time and we tell people to call the assistant director, and if you're in elementary A or elementary B, but I don't think anybody's committed that information to memory yet in terms of it, so I just wanted to read it tonight so you get a sense of what's going on and whom you're currently dealing with. We've also been following up on a number of transportation issues. Transportation's been a very significant challenge this year. So Janine Folgery, who's our secretary, has been meeting regularly with Kim Rice, who's the assistant superintendent in charge of transportation issues. A lot of our issues have thankfully been resolved, but there's still some outstanding ones having to do with car seats for some younger children, some door-to-door transportation issues, as well as some issues with alternative transportation, meaning if you ask your child to be dropped off somewhere at the end of the day that's not at home and you wanted them to go to like an after-school program or a daycare, that's alternative. The number of those has significantly reduced, but there are some outstanding issues. And again, some of the forms that we have available, if you currently have a transportation issue that's come up and you haven't had it dealt with appropriately by the school district, you want to let us know about it and we'll follow up directly with transportation on your behalf. We were trying to pull those all together because there were so many this year. The general forms are if you have a specific issue related to your child's IEP or any specific services that your child gets. Obviously, you can follow up directly with your assistant director, but these forms are all taken by John Beer and assigned to the appropriate personnel in his department, and he follows up within a week to make sure that people have received a call back and that someone is following up to resolve that issue for you. The next issue I want to talk about is that I know that there's been a lot of upsetting events in the last week, and I think that I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about that. Obviously, it's very upsetting to all of us who are the parents of children with special needs that there would be an incident involving a child with special needs. My child is nonverbal, has global delays, and so I know that the anger and the upset over what's being reported currently is certainly understandable. The thing we can say is that there was a letter that went out to all parents, so you all should have received a letter from Superintendent Johnson talking about the investigation that's going on, and also the fact that the district has set up a hotline for parents, and the number for that hotline is 617-635-3050, and that hotline is staffed with experts who can speak with parents if they have questions. I know that it's been reported that the individual involved in an incident at the Harbor School, or an alleged incident so far, has also worked at a number of other schools. So the district is investigating all work sites that this person was at to ensure that there were no other children impacted. So I think it's important to know that in the situation that did occur, that the school acted swiftly and immediately to address the situation, and now the situation is obviously being handled by the appropriate police investigation and other disciplinary actions. The district did announce that it was moving to have the individual fired, and that obviously they're taking any and all actions that they can. We don't have a lot of specific information about the facts because obviously it is an investigation, and that needs to, we don't want anything to adversely impact. There's also been meetings directly at the harbor with parents to inform them that their children's needs are being taken care of. But obviously it's a very upsetting and sad situation, and I just wanted parents to know that obviously we are going to follow up with the district with regard to this issue to ensure that whatever safeguards that we can put in place to avoid this type of thing on the go forward, that we do that. It's not to say that any situation can ever be 100% guaranteed. We obviously have all of our children entrusted to the school district, and the superintendent made it clear to us immediately after this incident occurred that the safety of all of our children is of the utmost importance to the school district. So I do want to obviously just acknowledge that, the fact that it's very upsetting and we're all concerned about that, and we are following up to the extent that we can currently, and we will continue to do so to address issues as they become known to us, and issues that we feel need to be addressed in any different ways on the go forward. So I don't know if there's any people here that go to the Harbor School, but I know that there was a meeting there earlier this week, and I know that the principal has been meeting with parents morning, noon, and night to assure parents that they're taking everything they can to make sure that kids feel safe, that they're any concerns they have are addressed, and that obviously children feel safe in their school environments, and that their needs continue to be met both educationally, emotionally, and psychologically. Okay? So that's where we are this evening. With regard to sort of other updates, we do have jVerre here this evening, so I'm going to let John speak to you about updates that he has that he wants to add in. I tend to chime in here and there, specific questions come up, but in the meantime, while John's talking, we're going to walk around and hand out the forms to anybody who wants them. Again, we have them in both English and Spanish, and all you need to tell us is if you have a general issue or if you have a transportation issue. Okay? Thank you. John?
Thank you for coming out to our regular monthly meeting, and particularly given what the weather's like, I'm glad to see that there are as many people here as there are. I apologize for being late. I just left meetings with the superintendent and others at Court Street at the central office. I've been spending pretty much all of my week working with the schools and the mayor's office and the superintendent to be responsive to authorities and to build a network of support for the children and families in our schools. And we'll continue to do that every day going forward. I did want to, I know that Carolyn shared with you the letter that is being sent out to families in a number of schools. I want to invite all of you, if any of you have questions or comments that you would like clarified, please call me directly at my office. Patty Feeney, who's my administrative assistant, is almost always there, and we'll take your name and phone number and I'll call you back. And if she's not there, there is voicemail, and you can leave your information, and she or I will call you back as soon as we get your message. I did want to mention that we have working with us some very important other folks. First of all, we are working very closely with Commissioner Davis of the Boston Police, Mr. Connolly, the district attorney, with the programs and services of Children's Hospital, who provide clinical support to children and families in these kinds of situations. And that last effort is being headed up by Andrea Amador, who is our Assistant Director for Mental Health Services in my office. I will be launching a review of all of the programs and services in our schools for children on the autism spectrum, starting with the programs and services at the harbor. So, as I'm sure Carolyn shared with you, there are many more details that we're not at liberty to talk publicly about at this point, except to say that the person who is considered the person who may have done this was in court today and will be in court again tomorrow morning. And as of yesterday, has been terminated from his position in the Boston Public Schools. So I think it might be best if I answered questions